The doorbell rang just as the sun dipped beneath the horizon, casting a soft golden hue across the quiet suburban street. Daniel's heart skipped a beat. He had been waiting for that sound all week. His palms were sweating, his pulse quickened, and for the first time in years, he felt something close to nervous excitement, the kind that made him feel alive again. He straightened his shirt, checked his reflection in the hallway mirror, and took a deep breath. Tonight wasn't just another night. Tonight was the first time he was going on a date since his wife Emily had passed away 3 years ago. He never thought he'd get here again, to a place where he could open his heart, even a little. But when he opened the door and saw her, Sarah, standing there with her gentle smile and soft eyes, the world felt strangely calm. She was dressed simply, yet there was something so warm, so genuine about her that it immediately disarmed him. And just as Daniel was about to invite her in, she leaned closer and whispered almost apologetically, "My kids are outside. Before we go any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the beauty of love finding its way back into broken hearts, make sure to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who might need a smile today, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more heart-touching stories." For a brief moment, Daniel didn't know what to say. He blinked, his hand still gripping the doorknob, caught between surprise and confusion. Her kids. He hadn't expected that. He thought tonight would be just the two of them. Dinner, maybe a walk, a conversation that felt like breathing again. But Sarah's eyes told him everything before she even spoke another word. There was a mix of hope and hesitation there. The look of someone who had been through storms and was still learning to trust the sunlight again. He understood that feeling too well. He smiled faintly and nodded. "Let's bring them in," he said softly. And that's how the night began. Not with candlelight and quiet music, but with laughter. Little shoes thumping on the floor and two shy faces peeking around their mother's legs. Sarah's kids, a boy named Ethan and a girl named Lily, were both under 10. They looked nervous at first, clutching their mother's hand as they stepped inside. Daniel could tell that this was new for them, too. Meeting a stranger, being in someone else's home. So, he bent down, offered a smile, and said the simplest thing he could think of. "I've got pizza in the kitchen, and I could use some help making it disappear." That was all it took. The boy's eyes lit up, and soon enough, laughter echoed through the house. The kind of laughter Daniel hadn't heard in years. As the night unfolded, something remarkable happened. What was supposed to be a simple date turned into something much more profound. They ate together, talked about movies, silly jokes, and favorite foods. The kids ended up building a blanket fort in the living room, and when Sarah tried to apologize for the chaos, Daniel just waved it off with a smile. "It's nice," he said quietly. "It feels alive in here again." Sarah watched him, her expression softening. She could see the sadness behind his kindness, the kind that never fully leaves a person. And Daniel, in turn, could sense that she wasn't just a single mom out on a date. She was a woman who had carried too much for too long and was still standing. They understood each other without needing to explain. As the evening wore on and the kids dozed off on the couch, Sarah and Daniel sat at the kitchen table, the soft hum of the refrigerator filling the silence. They spoke about loss, about how life doesn't ask for permission before it changes everything. Daniel told her about Emily, how she'd loved baking on Sundays, how the smell of cinnamon still made him stop in his tracks. Sarah listened, her eyes shimmering, and then shared her own story. Her husband leaving when Lily was still a baby. The sleepless nights, the fear of never being enough. By the end of the night, They both knew something had shifted. Not love, not yet, but something gentle and hopeful had begun to grow. Weeks turned into months. What started as one unexpected evening slowly became a rhythm of visits, dinners, and park afternoons. Daniel found himself waiting eagerly for weekends, for the sound of laughter filling his home again. Ethan and Lily started leaving their toys at his house, like small promises that they'd be back. And Sarah, with her steady warmth, began to fill the quiet corners of Daniel's life that had long been cold. But life, as Daniel had learned before, doesn't always move in straight lines. One rainy evening, Sarah showed up at his doorstep again, the same way she had months ago. But this time, her smile was gone. Her eyes were red, her hands trembling slightly as she spoke. Her ex-husband had returned, suddenly wanting to be part of the children's lives again. It was messy, confusing, and terrifying for her. "I don't know what to do," she said, her voice cracking. Daniel wanted to tell her it would all be okay, that she could lean on him, but he knew this was her storm to face. Still, he did the only thing he could. He listened. For weeks, he stood by her side. Not as a savior, but as someone who refused to walk away when things got hard. There were days when Sarah pulled away, scared of getting too close. And nights when Daniel sat alone, wondering if hope had fooled him again. The pain of almost losing what he had only just begun to find was suffocating. He wanted to call her to tell her he missed them, but he didn't. He waited because sometimes love isn't about chasing. It's about giving someone space to find their way back. And then one quiet Sunday morning, as Daniel stood in his backyard watering the little garden Emily had once planted, he heard a small voice behind him. "Mr. Daniel." It was Lily clutching a small flower she'd picked from the sidewalk. Behind her stood Sarah, her eyes soft and tired, but this time there was peace in the she told him she'd made her decision. Her ex wasn't coming back for good. And even if he did, she wouldn't let fear decide her future. She'd realized something important. That home wasn't about who was there first, but about who stayed. That day, Daniel didn't say much. He didn't need to. Sometimes silence holds the deepest gratitude. They stood together in the sunlight, the kids chasing butterflies nearby, and for the first time in years, Daniel felt whole. The following months were quiet and beautiful. They didn't rush things. There were still hard days, moments of doubt, and nights when they both wondered if love could really last after loss. But every time those fears rose, they looked at each other and remembered how it all began. With a knock on the door, with a whisper, with kindness, and then came the day that changed everything again. Daniel had planned a small dinner. Nothing fancy, just them and the kids. After dessert, Ethan handed Sarah a small envelope with crayon drawings all over it. Inside there was a simple note written in Daniel's handwriting. "You and your kids brought my heart back home. Will you make this home yours, too?" Tears streamed down Sarah's cheeks as she nodded. The kids cheered, wrapping their arms around them both. It wasn't a fairy tale. It was better. It was real. It was two people who had lost so much and still chose to love again. As the evening faded into night, Daniel looked at the stars. The same sky he used to stare at when grief felt unbearable. He whispered a quiet thank you to Emily, not because he was moving on from her, but because he was moving forward, something she had always wanted for him. Sometimes love doesn't arrive the way we expect. It doesn't always come with roses or grand gestures. Sometimes it knocks on your door quietly, wearing a tired smile, holding to sleepy children, and whispering, "My kids are outside." And when it does, you open the door. If this story touched your heart, Please take a moment to like, comment, and share it with someone who believes in love's beautiful second chances. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us keep bringing you stories that remind us all of the goodness still left in the world. Before we end, tell us in the comments below. Have you ever experienced a second chance that changed your life? We'd love to read your story because sometimes the most unexpected moments become the ones that save.